I got a request to do a reaction video for a new boy band in the Philippines, and their song is Kasmala. And I don't know what that word means, so. But this is the first time I'm seeing the video, and so let's get to it. Oh. Okay. Sorry. So 7 seconds, and I'm already pausing. Just as an initial reaction, I like the opening. He's wearing a traditional Filipino clothing. Bahag is what it's called. But yeah, this is a traditional Filipino clothing. Everything is Filipino, which is a huge plus for me. And I'm going to say why in a bit. But let's see if this is going to be sustained in the entire video. Okay. So there, it is Filipino. They're singing in Filipino. And again, they're wearing traditional Filipino clothing. For those of you who don't know, Philippine culture is so rich. We have so many languages. We have so many different cultures actually within the country. So there are so different places would have different traditional clothing. And so I have a feeling, although I've only seen two costumes, I have a feeling that they're going to go and showcase different Philippine clothing, traditional clothing from different places, which is a huge thing and a huge deal for me. And I'm getting emotional if they actually sustain this. But yeah, so, all right, let's continue. So I don't know. Is there? I don't know if that white guy represent what the person wearing white represents. What I think it represents, but I don't know. But this is good so far. Even the sound, if you listen to it, it has ethnic, traditional Filipino instruments. I think. Okay, we'll see. Well, I'll clarify later. I'll search what if there in the description of the video and see if they actually had Filipino instruments or maybe in their album or somebody talked about it. But I think they're using traditional Filipino instruments. This is good. I don't know. Okay. I don't know if, again, I don't know if that white person represents anything, but that thing that they're writing in the board, we actually have our own way of writing ancient Filipino writing. It's called the, oh, I forgot what it is called. I forget now, but Alibata. That's what it's called. There are ancient Filipino writings called Alibata. But now we have actually adapted the English alphabet A B C D E F G, and he's writing it on the board as it is as the American phonetics, the English phonetics of A B C D E. So I don't know if the white person represents foreign influences, but even the the words. I'm getting so excited. Even the words that stands to as an example for each of the letters, they're English instead of Filipino. The dancing is certainly influenced by traditional Filipino dances. They're going through, yeah, I think they're going through different traditional Filipino clothing. I think I've mentioned before that, sorry, so 1 minute and 42. But I've mentioned before that we have our history is so rich. We've gone through so many things, and there's a lot of foreign influences. We were the Japanese came, and then the Spaniards came, Japanese, and then there are other foreign influences, and so that explains the change in our clothing as we adapt cultures of different countries, and of course the change in our time, the way that we live, technology, and all that. We've gone through different, and then as I said, each place in the country, they have their own culture, they have their own belief. In fact, if somebody from way down south start talking in their language, I wouldn't understand them, even though it's still considered Filipino. The Visayans, if they talk in their language, I won't be able to understand. I remember I stayed in Butuan, which is way south, very much south of the Philippines. I stayed there for about 3 months, and I didn't understand anything they were saying. For them to communicate with me, they had to speak in English. So some of them knew Tagalog, which is my dialect. The national language is called Filipino, which is a fusion of the different words, different languages, different dialects from different places. In Manila, where I grew up, our dialect is called Tagalog. So I speak in Tagalog. I don't speak any other dialect. Understand very small Kapampangan. But when I was in Butuan, I didn't understand what they were talking about. And so for them to speak to me, if they don't know how to speak Tagalog, they would have to speak to me in English. Weird, huh? But anyway, I just pointed that out because they're going through different clothing of different regions and different times, which I guess this is the right time to say that one of the things I've always been frustrated about is that many of our pop artists are so westernized that we lose that Filipino touch. And if there's anything that Hollywood has shown us is that the one thing they like about foreign performers, foreign artists, is that they bring their own into the US instead of adapting Western sound and Western clothing, because nobody can do Western except the West better. So, and nobody can do Filipino except the Filipinos. So I think if what we want is to break through the Western market, we need to bring our own clothing, our own sound, our own instruments, our own music in there. BTS has done it for the Koreans. They sang their own songs in their own language. So this is very refreshing for me to see a boy band doing this. Yeah, I'm so happy. I think one thing is that it's not very easy for me to understand what they're singing. I don't know if it's. I know that they're singing in Filipino, and I'm catching words. The rest of the time, right now I don't. I kind of only have a vague idea of what they're singing about, and I still don't know what Kasmala means, which is weird. Is it like a dialect kind of thing? Anyway. Oh, I love that. I guess I wish they would just be a little bit more synchronized. Um, that part, let me just go back to the and a little bit more powerful, I hope. Yeah, see that the they're not as synchronized. The level of intensity in their dance is not the same. It is not fully synchronized. Or maybe they are, but because they don't all have the same level of intensity, I am failing to appreciate the synchronicity. But this part, yeah, that. But I appreciate the levels though. Like, um, they're not using different levels in one dance step, but they're using different levels uh, in a string of dance steps. Am I making sense? But yeah, so I guess that's sort of, which is very much a Filipino kind of thing. Many, if you go back to like the traditional dances, we're very much into levels. There's not, so how am I going to explain this? Like, if you go to the Ifugaos, most of their dances are done closer to the ground or midway instead of like vertical, fully vertical. So this hits closer to the traditional Filipino dance steps. And also that very low tone, I appreciate it because instead of many of the choruses of boy bands, pop songs, not just boy bands, but pop songs, they go really high because there is the belief, not belief, but the majority of the market sort of appreciates high notes because it demonstrates the power of their voice. But for them, they went the opposite way and actually went low, which is kind of unique. Oh, at least. Oh, I love it. Oh, positively no Filipino allowed. I it's I love that they incorporated Arnis. This is one truly Filipino martial arts, which I wish would have the same exposure as that of the Indonesian martial arts. It's such a whenever I watch Arnis demonstrations, it feels so emotional for me. Not because it's my own, but I feel like the martial arts itself, the discipline itself is such an emotion. There's so much depth into it. I guess that's the word. There's so much depth. Like, everything has a reason, and I'm sure that's the same for karate and taekwondo and stuff. But of course, this I can relate more to because this is ours. This is Filipinos. Even the weapon itself that's being used, the design itself is very Filipino. So I appreciate them using it. But again, this is one example of the lack of synchronicity. And maybe I'm nitpicking, but if you see the the adnice that they're using is not in this not everyone is perfectly vertical. And if you would think that in a dance, in a music video, you'd try to get that right? But anyway, but it's you can perfect something like this. You can definitely perfect it. It takes a lot of practice, but you can perfect it. But again, maybe I'm just nitpicking. Um, and then the other thing is that I wish that even all of their accessories are Filipino. There's silver. I don't know when we started using silver. In the, have we? Did we? Well, as I've said, there's so there's so much in the Philippine culture that maybe they're in some region they actually use silver early on, but yeah. But yeah, everything in here, everything that you see, all those patterns, all of those are very Filipino. The hair color, not so much. Of course, we obviously have black here, but and that sign positively no Filipino. And if this guy is about to break the mirror, I think I kind of know what it is that they're trying to deliver as a message. And yeah, I didn't get a chance to read what's on the no Filipinos or blog alouds. Monkeys, big time gamblers. Yeah. Okay. There's this very popular tale. I don't know if it is true, but there's this popular tale that went around the Philippines quite some time ago, and apparently there was this two students were arguing. One was Filipino, and another was another nation from another nation. But the non-Filipino one said that Filipinos are shameful, but that we should be ashamed of ourselves because we eat dogs, which is true. There are some places in the Philippines that eat dogs. Um, and then the Filipino responded and said, "Well, at least we don't." I'm probably gonna bleep that part. And just message me if you want to know what he said. But a lot of there's so much shame thrown our way because of that practice. Because there are some places in the Philippines that eat dogs. So yeah, and have been called monkeys as well, with many other races. We eat with our hands. Traditionally, we eat with our hands, and I think that's one reason why um, they call us uncivilized. That's traditional. We don't do that. There's not a lot of people who do that. And yeah, I think I appreciate that even the pattern of their clothing here is very much a pattern of the Philippines, traditional. Um, so I don't. So yeah, I think the message is uh, one is that I think musically I would want a little bit more variation in terms of the tonality to make a bit more impact. I don't know if it is well. Okay, so traditional Filipino sounds are actually very uh, not flat, but it's sort of in for the entire song. It sustains the same melody or musicality. Basically, it maintains like the same. So it's a lot of repetition. It could change the instruments, it could change the timing, but it sort of remains uh, flat, same level. Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's a word. It's sort of the same level, which I think they follow that, maybe. Um, but one way to modernize it and to make it sound a bit more pop is to put some more tone, put different levels, I guess, to have some sort of variation, and also to make it easier for people to choreograph to dance to. Uh, Second is that I do think they actually used traditional Filipino instruments. Correct me if there's anybody who knows out there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they did, which I appreciate very much. And as I've explained earlier, there's so much. I think one of the things that we need to do for our art is to put more Filipino in it instead of trying to copy the Western style, because nobody can do the Western style better than the Westerners, and then nobody can do Filipino better than the Filipinos. And our culture is so beautiful, our aesthetics is so beautiful, our art is so beautiful that I think if you put it out there, people are going to appreciate more, and that's what they did here, which I appreciate. Um, Third, I think the the message itself, it's so hard for me. I don't know why, but I find it hard to sort of understand what it is that they're saying. I caught some some parts, some words, which and then I don't know if I got the right message. But if it is, it's sort of a rah rah rah, like a revolution kind of song against oppression, against all of its influences, against pressures, against people who tried to put us down. Which is, I like that message. I like that message. I think it is time for especially young Filipinos, to because we're starting to get so removed from our painful history, that part of our history, that we don't appreciate how far we've come. And so I think getting pop and young performers to deliver that message and to sort of bridge us to that part of our history is going to be good. And of course, in their influence, these are the people that young people admire. And if you see that they're using this clothing, they're using this style, they're singing it this way, then better for our culture. Then we would be able to appreciate our culture more. So yeah, I still don't know what Kasmala is. Malakas? Is it okay? If I'm right, I don't know if I'm right. Um, it is Malakas is a Filipino word for strong, but the street way of sometimes street language, how different they are in the formal language, and we reverse the syllables, the order of the syllables. So malakas, kasmala. I don't know if I'm right. So like if you want to say no in Filipinos, hindi. And then some people would just say dehin. We reverse it. So I don't know if I'm right, but that could be it. Yeah, I like it. I think I don't know if how long they've been together when they debuted. I don't know if it's their first song, second song, or whatever, but it is a good song. It's a good song. I think they are where they should be. They got it right, and I think if they continue towards this path, it'll be better. I think in the succeeding ones, I would want them to see how they can modernize our style, because here they honor the Filipino culture, Filipino style, Filipino clothing, and the instruments. They honored it by staying true to it, as very close to it, but not entirely true. Very very close to the authentic ones, the traditional ones. But if they can find a way how to modernize it, how to modernize the style, and actually design their clothing and design their sound in a way that people can use it in the street, I think it would be better for our culture. In terms of musicality, I've already said it. I wish there were more levels to it in their dancing. I wish there was more synchronicity. Not that they're not synchronized. I think they just could do better. And I think their pops could be a bit stronger. When they do some of those pops, it's very soft for me, and I wish they could be put more force into the pops. Other than that, yeah, I like it. Thank you for recommending this to me. I'll be watching them, and I hope that so yeah, let me know if they come out with their next album. I'll try to research a little bit more about the band, and I hope that I got the Kasmala word right. I hope that was actually what it meant. If it's not, let me know.